We're back with Lianne Rood, MP for Lambton-Kent-Middlesex. Lianne, we're talking about the farm. Inflation has really affected food prices to the point where it's really becoming quite critical. Canadians are having a difficult time buying food because of inflation. Uh, what are your thoughts on that? How can we get food prices down? How can we mitigate the effects of inflation?
Well, first things first, we have to axe the carbon tax. We've heard from the food professor at the Agriculture Committee that he believes that the government should put a pause on the carbon tax along the food chain right now. And the reason is simple. We actually don't know what the impact of the carbon tax is. But being a farmer, I can tell you that along the entire supply chain, we're paying carbon tax on everything. So when everything starts to add up, at some point, the farmer is going to have to pass that cost on to consumers. And so, if we were to axe the tax, you're going to see diesel prices lower, and trucking is a big part of agriculture and getting fruits and vegetables, whether it's from the field, from the farm, into the grocery stores. That carbon tax is paid several times along the way. So we need to axe the carbon tax first and foremost, and then we're going to see food prices drop. But we also
Right.
need to make sure that we have policies in place that keep farmers farming in Canada. And when the cost of farming becomes too much, we're going to see people either retiring out and next generations not wanting to get into the business of producing food. So then we're going to be more reliant on food from around the globe to feed us, which is going to end up costing more.
How terrible. Canada is one of the most productive agricultural countries in the world. And if we had to depend on others for our food, that would be a terrible travesty. Tell me, I hear the carbon tax is going up April 1st and it's going up 23%. 23% is going to be very inflationary for food, will it not?
Absolutely. And again, it's more fees and that farmers have to pay along the way. It's going to cost more to produce the food. So if it costs more to produce the food, it's going to cost consumers more to buy food at the grocery store.
My goodness, it seems that we really shouldn't be implementing that carbon tax if we want our people to eat. Now, I've also heard that the Ministry of Environment has been attacking plastics over the last couple of years, and there's a court case that ruled that the ministry was offside in doing that. It was what they were doing was unconstitutional, but that will have an effect on food prices as well, won't it, if we have to ban plastics?
Absolutely. And the government actually has a second plastics ban that they have for primary plastic packaging, and they want to ban plastic on fruit and vegetables. So in the produce sector. Now, Canada is a country of 40 million people, and we import two-thirds of our produce into this
Two
country,
thirds.
two-thirds from around the world. And so, by banning plastic packaging, that automatically means that we could lose that two-thirds of that produce that gets imported into the country that we're reliant on to feed us. And it's going to increase the cost drastically. In fact, the fruit and vegetable folks here in Canada had Deloitte do a study on this, and they said it's going to increase produce by a minimum of 34%, the price of produce, if this ban were to go ahead. Because we import two-thirds of our vegetables, we're going to see a lot more food waste as well. Because what the primary plastic packaging does, it's 90% of it is done before it ever hits the grocery store shelves to keep it fresh, to extend the shelf life, to make sure it doesn't get crushed in transit. So we're going to see a 50% increase in food waste. We're going to see 50% increase in greenhouse gas pollution because of that food waste. And it's going to cost the economy over $5 billion. And you're going to see our healthcare costs go up by $1 billion a year.
This is crazy. I read somewhere a stat that to protect a cucumber, it takes about 1.6 grams of plastic, but extends the life of a cucumber 14 days. I'm sure this applies to so many, to the produce right across the board. Um, it doesn't seem like it will achieve the objectives that the government has set out to achieve, i.e., trying to improve the environment by reducing CO2.
Absolutely. And Canadians are innovators, farmers are innovators. What they've found, the industry has found ways on their own to already reduce the footprint of plastic that they use. And the fact of the matter is, there is no global scale alternative to plastic. When we talk
Mm,
about food industry, it's a global scale.
right.
So until other countries get on board and we find a viable solution, there is no solution. And in fact, if we ban plastic, we're going to see 50% less food in the grocery stores too, and all the salads, the pre-made stuff that you see in your produce section, they're all gone.
Hold that thought. Canada is such a small player. We'll pick it up after the break.